Good morning, and thank you all for joining this morning's webinar. I really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy days to spend some time with us. Today, we are going to be talking about a really interesting opportunity, Caribbean Corporate Venturing Pilot Program that we at Compete Caribbean are just kicking off right now. It's been developed in collaboration with IDB Invest, and I'm going to speak a bit about what both of those two entities are. Also this morning, we are joined by Cambrian Design and Development. So Mike Abbott, Edmund Pendleton, and Lindsay Smith, all representatives of that firm, and they're also going to introduce themselves a bit later on. And we really are glad to have your attention. Just to say at the outset, this webinar is one of a series of educational webinars that we're undertaking in relation to this project, and it's really targeted at BSOs, or business support organizations, basically people who run startup hubs, who run accelerators, who do any sort of work to help businesses get on their feet, grow, scale, and operate here in the Caribbean. We're going to define it a little bit more later on as well. So just to get us going, Compete Caribbean, most of you may already know, but Compete Caribbean is a private sector development facility operating in the Caribbean in 13 different countries in the Caribbean, jointly funded by the governments of Canada, the United Kingdom, the IDB, or Inter-American Development Bank, and the Caribbean Development Bank. And we operate and we exist really to basically to increase productivity, to foster innovation and competitiveness, and to stimulate growth throughout the region. The IDB Invest is the private sector arm of the IDB group. And just like the IDB Invest is focused on economic and social growth throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, but their focus is particularly on the private sector. So Compete Caribbean, why does it exist? It exists because the situation we look at in terms of the overall economic profile of the region as it is now isn't how it always has been. I mean, back in the early 70s, when you look at the real GDP per capita of the Caribbean states, it was roughly 4 times that of other small economies. So that's to say countries with population 3 million or less. However, today, it's more like a fraction of that. And that's not even factoring in the major impacts of COVID-19, which are still being assessed. We have some estimates from the IMF and the UN Economic Commission that suggest that this year alone, there's going to be at least a 5% contraction on average throughout the entire region. So with this being the backdrop, this is pretty much gives further impetus and need for innovation in the region. And this project that we'll be talking about today is one of the ways in which Compete Caribbean is trying to stimulate that. So with that, I will hand over to Mike to keep us going.